Welcome back to the 94 podcast. My name is Costa. Welcome back to a brand new video. Manchester United have stolen it at the death of the game. Manchester United 2-1 Brentford, and Scott Mctominnay has produced 7 minutes of a masterclass. He is absolutely knocking on the door to start for Manchester United in the next games. I think Erik ten Hag has got to answer a couple of questions why Scott Mctominnay probably isn't starting games. They have stolen it. Brentford will be devastated. Brentford will be really, really devastated. But Manchester United will be ecstatic, and Man United will be feeling that is the result they needed before breaking off for the international break. Manchester United fans, talk to me in the comment box below. You have stolen it. You have absolutely stolen it in a game where you had no right, in a game where you're going to lose that game. And you have just produced magic for 2 minutes and a couple of seconds, and Scott Mctominnay scoring within the last 7 minutes of the game. Man United, this is the true definition of a big club. Now, there are so many questions, of course. There are so many things that are not going right for Man United. And the problems are not going to go away courtesy of the win. The problems are not going to be erased away in one match. But at least that's a performance you need to put in at the Old Trafford. That's a performance that the fans come to see. That's a performance that, if I'm a Man United fan, that is exactly what I want to see. I want to see my team fighting on until the end, fighting on until the last whistle. And Man United didn't give up. Brentford thought they had won it. Brentford then, relaxing a little bit, trying to manage the game. They thought Man United were eventually going to give up. Man United didn't give up until the 97th minute. And I tell you what, Erik ten Hag, big credit to him, because the substitutions that he has put onto the pitch eventually worked. Marcus Rashford coming off, I thought that was the right call in my opinion, and bringing on Scott Mctominnay as well, it was right call. Bringing on Garnacho, it was right call. I thought his in-game management in this game was better, and it has been better, and he's got to work on that. He's got to work on his substitution. He's got to work on his decision making. When do you take off Marcus Rashford? When do you introduce a new player? When you bring on Garnacho? I think in this game he's going to go back and he will give himself a lot of credit because he actually deserves it. Now, let's get into the game itself. I don't think Man United fans will be out there really feeling confident for the next game, because this is a performance that doesn't give you huge confidence. Brentford really played very well in the first half. They dominated play. They scored a goal. And Man United, when they go behind, they look discombobulated. They look very bamboozled. They look very disorganized. And that's what happened. When Matthias Jensen scores, Man United draw back a little bit, and from that moment until probably the start of the second half, Brentford should have scored a second goal. Brentford should have had another, right? And maybe the absence of Ivan Toney contributed to the fact that Man United didn't concede a second goal, because Brentford don't have a good striker. And that's something they've got to work on, and that's something Erik ten Hag and this team have to work on. You cannot look discombobulated every single time you go a goal down. You cannot look very confused. Even when you're at the Old Trafford, you can't look confused when you go a goal down. Now, if this game was at the Vitality Stadium, the GTEC Community Stadium, it could have been a different result. It could have been a Brentford win. And United, a little bit lucky that they were at the Old Trafford. But I think the key points for me, and for all Manchester United fans, is how this team has reacted after conceding a goal, and how this team has reacted before the final whistle. That is top mentality. That is being, I think we've talked about, mentality monsters in regards to Man City, in regards to Liverpool, in regards to, clubs like Arsenal, Newcastle, and Brighton. Man United today, mentality monsters, absolute mentality monsters, right from the manager to the substitutions, to the players that were brought onto the pitch, and the players that stayed on the pitch as well. Big credit to Harry Maguire. He's got an assist in this game, by the way. Big credit to Johnny Evans as well, and a couple of players that really played very well. Man United fans will feel happy, and Man United fans will feel very relieved, because United were on the brink. They were on the precipice of losing 3 home games consecutive this campaign. They had lost to Crystal Palace at the Old Trafford. They then lost to Galatasaray at the Old Trafford. And they were just a whisker away from losing to Brentford. And the mentality of this team, the ability for them to go, we cannot allow this to happen. For the mentality for them to go, how about we make it a draw, right? I like the mentality. I really, really liked it. But there are a couple of things that you've got to correct. There are a couple of things that Erik ten Hag has got to work on. And one of those things is shape. The shape of this team, especially out of position, is not convincing, right? The goals that Man United are conceding and the chances that you are conceding are very, very avoidable. They are very easy. They're very basic. They are very avoidable. The first goal, for Christ's sake, I don't think Matthias Jensen strikes that ball very well. But I think what actually happens is he's got a lot of space, a lot of time, and, it's unacceptable. In the penalty area of Man United at the Old Trafford, it's really, really unacceptable, right? So the shape of this team out of possession, I think at times it's too easy for clubs to, penetrate the midfield, penetrate the defense as well. And we saw it again against Brentford. Brentford didn't punish you, but another team will actually punish you. Another team will actually create a difference. And that is something Erik ten Hag has got to work on with his team. How do we position ourselves, out of position? How do we position ourselves for that kind of rest defense? I think your rest defense, simply is not good enough, right? When Man United are in possession, there should be a structure. There should be a cautious and uncautious structure, or two uncautious structures and and a cautious structure that is in place. That when we drop the ball, when we eventually are pressed and we are out of position, this is how we respond. I think Man United are not yet there, right? They're absolutely not yet there. And that is something you've got to work on. If you're going to win games in the Premier League, if you're going to win games in the Champions League, you've got to have a good rest defense. For Man United, I don't think they can argue that they have won. I don't think they really do have a good rest defense. But on to the positives, right? The negatives are there. The negatives are there to be talked about, and I think everyone knows about the negatives of Man United. But the real positives, and the real positive in this game, apart from Man United showing the mentality and showing the showing how resistant and how resilient they could be, because that is again a very key characteristic of teams in this Premier League. You've got to be resilient. One goal doesn't beat you. 2 goals don't beat you. I mean, we've seen so many times when clubs have gone a goal down plus a red card and they come back and win the game. So Man United as a big team, 1 goal doesn't defeat you. It's nowhere near. It's nowhere near the required minimum. It's nowhere near the standards. If Man United concede a goal and they just give up and they lose the game, it's nowhere near the required minimum, right? So for me, I think the big positive and what you will think about here is you've secured 3 points, 3 very, very important points, and you've also secured them in a game that had been lost. So that means that there is quality in this team. That means that there is something in these players, right? These are not bad players. You can do what Spurs are doing. You can do what Arsenal are doing. You can do what Manchester City are doing. You can do what Liverpool are doing. You've just got to get these players right and motivated. Players, they seem like they're not motivated enough. Yeah, it comes from the fact that they're losing games. It comes from the fact that they don't have that consistent run of games, winning or actually not losing games. And that is the point in this win. Can Man United string together a couple of wins? Can they string together a couple of performances where they do not lose games? Now, their next game, I will presume, is against Manchester City in the Premier League after the international break. Well, that's not a big one in terms of what to be worried about. Because Man United literally, they lose by huge margins to Man City, but they're also one of the bougie sides of Man City. They do beat Manchester City, and hopefully Man United will play Man City without Lodri. And that is going to be a huge boost for them. If Man United get that kind of win against Manchester City on the back of winning a game in the 90th minute, we might say Manchester United could be coming back, right? Now, for me, a few things that Erik ten Hag has got to work on. Team selection is number 1, and we saw it today. Marcus Rashford is not as productive as Garnacho. There's no question about that. So, as a manager, you've got to pick your best players, and you've got to pick the best player per position. Marcus Rashford, at the moment, does not give you what Garnacho gives you. Garnacho is electric, fast, quick, productive, and his decision making is absolutely very good. And then he's got the ability as well to create space for himself to run into and shoot as well. I think Marcus Rashford, he's lacking there this season. Great player, fantastic guy. If he gets back on form, he should come back in the Manchester United side. But I think Garnacho, at the moment, should be starting more games. And I think it's also kind of more of a boost that Antony is coming back. I think many Man United fans don't like Antony, and they don't actually get what Antony brings to the table. But without Antony, you can actually see what he brings to the table. I think Antony is a very important player for Ten Hag, as a very important player for Manchester United. Very, very important. But why don't we talk about Scott Mctominnay, the masterclass, the boy, the Scottish man, and his brilliance. Now, I'm one of the people who actually think Scott Mctominnay is not Manchester United levels. However, I'll give you a very interesting statistic. Rasmus Hojlund and Scott Mctominnay are the two leading top scorers in the UEFA Nations League this season of the UEFA Nations League. And what that tells you that there is a lot of quality in Scott Mctominnay, and as long as you can give him the freedom and the allowance that he wants to go and affect the opponent's penalty area, he's such a good player. You look at the 2 goals he scored, absolute composure. Absolute composure. For him to stand in the penalty area and go, I'm going to strike it, right? And I'm going to strike it, but he strikes it well, doesn't he? Absolutely very well, right? The first goal, he absolutely strikes it very well. The second, sins, absolute sins, right? Because when you are Scott Mctominnay, you've got the right to be there because you're looking for a second goal. But for him to go and, you know, beat the Brentford defense, he's ahead of Rasmus Hojlund at that point in time, and he's ahead of Anthony Martial. He's in front of both of them. So he's hungry. He's the hungry guy, and he's hungrier than any other player on the pitch, right? And for him to keep his calm, to keep his composure, and head it goalwards, sins. Absolute sins for Manchester United. They have secured 3 points, and I kind of feel for them. I really kind of feel happy for them because it's a hell of a season, and it's going to be a very difficult campaign. Very difficult campaign. Injuries are hitting them. Form is, players are out of form. Erik ten Hag is making a few, bad decisions here and there. But at least that one will actually keep them motivated until the next one. We'll be talking about Chelsea very soon because Chelsea could be back. 4 goals against Burnley at the Turf Moor. Chelsea have actually announced themselves, and they have announced their coming back. We'll talk about Chelsea very, very soon.